We're talking today about sharing our bounty. And the definition I found for bounty that I like the best is something that is given generously. And this whole month we've been talking about the mental garden of our mind and how we have the possibility to grow unlimited possibilities if we're using our mind and our heart and the laws of the universe correctly, that we can create wonderful things. However, I think when we check our minds often, we find that maybe we have a few weeds planted there that we don't like we run into judgment and we think, oh, I can pull that out. Okay, I'll do that. And then we run into limitation and scarcity and insecurity and anger and jealousy and all these things. And we weed the garden, but unless we're really, really conscious of what we're replanting in our mind, guess what? The weeds come back again and again and again. And we spend most of our time weeding the garden instead of growing this abundant harvest in which we know that's not just for us. Just as that beautiful reading from Martine, we're all connected. So who we are really touches other people. We're all connected in this thing called life. So as we have to weed that garden of consciousness so we can definitely start cultivating love and freedom in this undifferentiated creative potential that surrounds us all infinitely and eternally. We need to be able to choose that so we can share our gifts and grow them in abundant ways. So be careful of what we're weeding and what we are replanting in that place. The law of life is about growth and renewal and opening and becoming. But if we're not consciously choosing, if we don't use our consciousness, our awareness properly, we can just be redoing the same mediocre garden that we've been carrying around for a long time. So today, I'm going to share, I always turn to the mystics. I love the mystics because they've worked on their consciousness. And without question, they know their oneness with God. And I'll tell you, real spiritual power, the power to plant the garden of your mind with the things you really want to grow and cultivate and share generously, means that you know without question your oneness with God. Absolutely number one. That infinite goodness, that love, because God is love and God is law, but when you know your oneness, and the second part of that spiritual power is without question, you know in every single moment there's an availability for good. That's our freedom of choice. When we've been given that seed of freedom, it's that freedom of choice we have in every single moment to decide if we want to pull the weed thought we're thinking and plant something better. You know, I was looking at something from, I think it was a writing Oprah wrote on true love. And she said, true love is when you can be your best person, even when the person or persons you with are not. And that stuck with me. Wow, can we choose to be our best self even when other people are not? Because what a stand that is for love, and recognizing that even though someone isn't acting their best self, we know there's goodness in there. We know there's possibility. So I want to start. This is a book called Love Poems from God, and it's written by Daniel Ladinsky. And he did a lot of translating for Hafez, but this is a book from many different mystics. And the first one I've chosen is St. Francis of Assisi. And I have a little statue of St. Francis in my front yard. St. Francis is a 13th century mystic. He was born in Italy to a quite wealthy family, and he liked the better life. It says that he loved parties. So we know what goes along with parties. So I think he really liked the physical things of life, and that's beautiful. But then he was called into a military career, to do his part in the world. And he went to serve in the military, and he realized when he was there that this wasn't what he was called to do. And at that time, he gave up most of his earthly possessions, and he began to devote himself to helping the impoverished. And he wrote some beautiful quotes and poetry and writings. And he's known because of not only his kindness and his generosity, but his deep, deep connection to God and Spirit. He said, God came to my house and asked for charity. And I fell on my knees and I cried, beloved, what can I give? Just love, God said. Just love. So when we're talking about sharing our bounty today, and that's why we started with that song, because what we really need to be doing in all our lives is cultivating more love. That's what we need to be doing. The love that knows, number one, that we love ourselves enough to receive, because we can't give anything if we don't receive the gifts of Spirit. Do you know that love, Ernest Holmes defines love as the self-givingness of Spirit, that God gives all itself to us so we can use those gifts to become our best. And it's a continual growth process. That's what we're here to do. That love energy is in us, and it's the stuff we're made. But I put the book down, and I'm not finished reading, because of course I wouldn't finish reading. There's another one by St. Francis here, but I'm going to go right to, what we're talking about, giving and receiving. This is Hafez, and this is what Daniel Ladinsky is known for, his translation of Hafez. He said, admit something. Everyone you see, say to them, love me. Love me. He said, of course, don't do it out loud, otherwise someone would call the cops. But still, think about this. It says the great need we have to connect. The great need we have, as Saint Teresa says, she says, there's more hunger in this world for love and appreciation than there is for bread. We're so hungry for that. So if you're willing to say, just quietly, under your breath, in your mind, in your heart, love me. What are you doing? You're opening yourself to something greater. If you can't say that, Teresa said, don't be afraid to love, to ask for love, to be loved, to be open to it. We have to open ourselves to something more, something absolutely more. All right, and then of course I have to end with my other 13th century favorite mystic, because I want you to know, I call Rumi my boyfriend because I absolutely love when I read his work, but I realize now in the little introduction to him in Ladinsky's book, he said, Rumi says to us in a poem, love is the cure. Your pain will keep giving birth to more pain until your eyes constantly exhale love as effortlessly as your body exhales its scent. And it goes on to say, love is the essence of Rumi. And Rumi says, stand with dignity in the magnificent current of my words, and they will carry you into the arms of God. So love is not just some little word we use. I mean, in our language, we only have one word for love, which is that feeling, that intense emotion, I say, of connection, of being together, and how important that is. So if we're going to share our bounty, let's be sure we share it with love. Rumi said every tree, in fact, every living thing, would be saying, if we could hear it, you reap what you sow. You reap what you sow right now. Everything we're planting in our mind and growing, the thoughts we have, the actions we take, that's what we're going to sow in our life. It's this reciprocal universe. It's this law of cause and effect, give and take. That's what happens. But he goes on to say, so in this life that's as short as a half-taken breath, plant only seeds of love. So if we leave today with only one thing in mind, it's to be really careful of not just weeding out the things we don't like about ourselves. Oh, I'm judgmental, I'm angry, I'm insecure, I'm this and that. But to be sure we're planting things that matter. I mean, I remember yesterday morning I was going around going, oh, I'm just so tired and I have things to do. I am so tired. And then I looked at Kirk and I said, what am I doing? I'm telling the universe I'm tired, which I was. But then I started saying, no, I've got the energy I need to do. I'm filled with vitality. And I started feeling better. Well, I don't know if I was moving faster, but I was definitely feeling better, because we have to be really careful of what we're putting out there in the world. It's this idea that we are made from this stuff of life called love. And I was going to say, Ernest Holmes describes love as a self-givingness of spirit. So we're given everything we need. We're given all the tools we need to cultivate a life that is worthwhile. And Mother Teresa also said, don't worry about doing everything. Just do one thing with great love. That's all. We don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, I can't do this like somebody, I can't do that. We need a whole melting pot of people together doing different things. You know, we talk about how important it is to have unity, right? We talk about that every week. But unity does not mean uniformity. In fact, it means that we honor our differences. We reconcile our differences so that we can come together and be a beautiful garden. Can you imagine if a garden was always the same thing? It would get boring. We need each other to keep life alive. And once we've decided we're just going to be really working on being a more open, loving person, that we want to open ourselves and unfold. You know, any place we can't say, love me, because we think, oh, I'm not good enough to love. Oh, you know what, I did this thing, and it's embarrassing. I feel guilty, I feel ashamed. If we can't reconcile our own differences, how in the world can we reconcile differences out in the world? We all make mistakes. Ye gads, we all make mistakes, but we do, and we're here to understand and learn from those situations so we can be better models to share the bounty of not only what we've grown, but what we've learned and how we've reconciled our things in our own self. Because once we can create a bounty of things that matter, that we care about, that we want to share with others, we can do something. And this was also for my dear friend Rumi. He said, you know, the ground is very generous. It takes our compost and turns it into beauty, into trees, into strength, into things for us to eat, like the three sisters, corns, beans, and squash, turns it into things for us to eat. Our compost, it has that ability. And that's when I say learn. We can turn our compost of things we've done in our life that seem pretty, and change them into something good, for good. We can grow it. And he goes on to say, learn from the dirt. Give back better. You know, how many of us hold back on the things we know could make something better? We know we could say something to someone, and they'd feel a whole lot better, but there's the little part of us goes, well, they weren't very nice to me. They weren't nice to me, so I don't want to make them feel better, because why should they get more than I do? Give back better. When we say open, unfold, heal all those things inside so we can give to the world and not worry about giving more than we get, because we will always get an abundance in return. It might not be in the same way, in the same place, but it always comes back to us. It's something we have to learn to do together. Give back better. Doesn't that feel good? Mother Teresa says, if there's only one thing you give, and you don't think you have anything, it's something you always have to give, and that's a smile. Because a smile is the beginning of love. So if you go, well, she wasn't really, I don't think, talking about elevators, but if you go on an elevator and everybody seems really grumpy and upset, I mean, will a smile change the energy and the vibration of where you are? Absolutely. So we need to remember, no matter where we are, we have that ability to be our best self and bring a better self to the situation. And then when we're not feeling our best self, we've got to get centered. Because if we're off balance, now there's that balance of giving and taking and receiving, because if we're off balance, we're going to be in trouble. Because I guarantee the times we snap and get angry, say mean things, do bad things, it's because we're not balanced in spirit. We need to be balanced right where we are. No matter where you are, you have the ability to get balanced. Okay, I want you right now to put your feet on the floor. Open yourself up. Just come on, just do it for me. Just open yourself up, because we always just open yourself. And here's something, this is not, I mean, did they know more in the 12th, 13th, and 14th century than we did? Sometimes I think so. Anyway, this is from a 15th century Indian mystic, Kabir. And he, again, talks about the garden that we've been talking about this whole month. But he's not talking about the garden outside. So I want you to close your eyes for a minute. So if you came in here, you know, there's so much in the life to uncenter us with the technology and problems and situations and news and oh my goodness, there's so much. So just close your eyes if you feel called. And this is only a few lines, but I'd like you to feel this, because he offers that if this is something we do to center ourselves, then we can bring our best self to the world. It may take us 15 minutes, it may take us 10 minutes, it may take us 2 hours, maybe it's a whole day of doing nothing but filling yourself up that you can be balanced and prepared to meet the day. He said, don't go outside your house to see the flowers. My friend, don't bother with that excursion. Inside your body, there are flowers. One flower has 1,000 petals. That will do for a place to sit. Now sit. Find that place where life flows from, where love flows from. Sit there, and you will have a glimpse of beauty. Inside the body and out of it, before the garden and after it, there is that beautiful place inside of each and every one of us, a center that is spirit, that is divine goodness, that is a place of awakening and intuition for each and every one of us, that we can see beyond the circumstances. We can see beyond the external. We can see the good in everything, in ourselves, in everyone, and everything. And that is a possibility for each of us, to sit in that place and let the beauty within us simply grow and grow and grow. I think in this whole time of the pandemic, which we're coming closer and closer to a close. I mean, in a few weeks, we're following the guidelines of California. We'll be without masks here at the center. I think most of us are vaccinated and we'll be here, of course, by choice, but that feels good. But I think what's come out of this pandemic is we really are one. We're one being. I mean, we have different expressions, but we are one. And we can feel the need for connecting with one another. I want to share with you two things before we close and hear our closing song. Ernest Holmes said, the first thing we must do is love everybody. He didn't say you had to like everybody. Thank goodness. Some people just rub us the wrong way. I'm sorry. We don't have to like everybody, but we have to love everybody. Because love is the greatest healing and drawing power in the world. It's healing. Love can heal sickness. It can heal prosperity problems. It can heal fulfillment of creative expression, careers. It can heal everything. And he said it is the sole purpose for living. And he said every day, say, the God in me is unified with the God in all. Let's say that together. The God in me is unified with the God in all. Again, the God in me is unified with the God in all. The God in me is unified with the God in all. Oh, what an opening. That just feels like you open up when you say that. Beautiful Howard Thurman. He was a theologian, an author. He was definitely mystical experiences. He was a mentor to Martin Luther King, very active in the civil rights movement. And he said that to be in unity with spirit is to be in unity with one's fellow people. If you're not unified with your fellow people, you're not in unity with God. The pragmatic test of one's unity with Spirit is found in the unity we have with each other. So I would just say on that note, if we want to give this love we're talking about, we want to share generously our bounty of love and goodness, check your relationships with other people. And where they need healing, you can't always heal things out there, but always heal them in here. So when you're thinking, you can think a thought of love and goodness and not always go to something that's bad and wrong. And that's what we want to leave with today, is to be able to think, just think the songs, the lights, the goodness, the sayings of love and peace and joy. So what I know for me right now, as I know for you, is that the goodness of God is flowing through me. The goodness of God is flowing through me right here, right now, because I choose it to do so. The goodness of God is mine now, and it's yours, and I see it in this beautiful world in which we live. This Memorial Day weekend, let's just really focus on the freedom we have to choose the goodness and the love that we truly are. I love you all. I'm so glad we're in this family together. God bless you. And so it is.